Good evening. These vigils are very special to our office and especially to the Division of Victim Services. They work very hard to make tonight special for all of you. We hope you come here not to only honor those who were taken from you, but to be in a community that understands your pain and your sorrow. We know you come here with heavy hearts, and we sincerely hope this vigil tonight somehow provides some comfort that your loved one is not forgotten, and hearing his or her name brings you some level of solace. I have the distinct honor tonight of introducing our speaker. We are so thankful that she is alive today to tell us her story, because it could have ended very differently for Jessica. I read her story, our staff worked with her, and one thing I was struck with was her ability to survive was amazing. Her quick thinking, her strong survival instincts, and of course, the fast response of our law enforcement saved Jessica's life. And thankfully, she's here today to tell us about it. It takes a brave person to not only tell their personal, painful, life-altering story, but to be able to do that in front of so many people, especially when so many people you're talking to did not have the same outcome. Her story has lessons for all of us, but most importantly, it's the resilience of the human spirit. We are so thankful to have Jessica here with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming Jessica Sarin.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight. For some of you, this is your first time here. For others, welcome back. This year marks my 5th year attending. Each year touches my heart in a new way as I heal. This event falls around my anniversary of becoming my own hero. Thanks to the Riverside District Attorney's Office and their Division of Victim Services, the Family Justice Center, and Riverside Police Department, and everyone else involved in this event, I'm given one night a year that I can remember that I'm not alone in this struggle to reclaim my life. I survived domestic violence. I survived my abuser's attempt to murder me and take my life. Five years ago today, our relationship came to an end and he had already moved on. I felt relief, but years of mental torture made me question if I could do it on my own. I was made to feel more alone when he posted on Facebook telling our mutual friends how worthless I was and asked them to delete me. Instead, they cyberbullied me. That Monday, just 3 days later, April 15th, it was taxes day for most. For me, it was almost my last day alive. He came over to watch our daughter, who was 4 at the time. I was still getting ready for work. I walked into the living room where he waited for me to leave. I said, "Isn't it funny you tell everyone to delete me on Facebook, yet one of your friends requested me?" He smirked, and I walked away. I went back to the bathroom to continue getting ready. My final comment was the last straw. His anger raged, and he made a decision that would change my life forever. I was facing the bathroom mirror when I heard his voice behind me. I didn't even have time to turn around before he struck me in the back of the head with a hammer. He screamed at me. I remember his words so vividly. He said, "You think it's funny now? You're going to die." I lunged for the door, but he was quicker than me. I was trapped and held against my will in that bathroom. He struck me again and again, doing all he could to stop me from fighting back. I begged him to stop. I begged for my life. He continued. I could hear our daughter screaming and crying from the other room. I pled with him to stop and think of her. He ignored me. This man was pure evil, and nothing could snap him out of his rage. He screamed, "You're sorry now?" as I fought for my life. He continued to hit me with the hammer anywhere that would reach and make contact with my body. I was dizzy, but I did everything in my power to keep standing. I remember so vividly telling myself I couldn't let my dad come home to find me dead, and I couldn't let my daughter lose her mom. All my survival instincts kicked in. I stood back up, and I pushed my thumbs into his eyes and went for his sensitive areas. It wasn't enough. He hit me again. I screamed, hoping the neighbor could hear me. He suddenly stopped. He opened the door and left the room. I had no idea why he stopped, but I knew I did not have 1 second to spare. I saw my cell phone. I dialed 911. I couldn't say a thing to 911, but I remember my mom would tell me to call 911, and even if I cannot talk, they will find me. I put my cell phone to my side, and I left the room as he yelled for me. I walked in to find him loading his gun. I said, "Please, put the gun down. Please don't kill me." I tried to say as much as I could for 911 to be aware of what was going on. He moved across the room and pointed it at me. We were only feet apart. I stayed calm and tried to buy myself as much time as possible. I was terrified and wondered why the police weren't there yet. I heard his cell phone ring from the other room. My miracle. He left the room to go look for his phone. I stayed in place, assuming if I attempted to go out the window, I would only be shot in the back. He returned to the room because he couldn't find his phone. He ordered me to hand him my phone so he could call his. I had no choice but to hang up with 911 and hope he wouldn't see my call log. His missed call was from his new girlfriend. He called her and told her how bad he messed up. I followed him on the phone without thinking. He realized he messed up and had no idea how to fix it. He told me, "Wash yourself off and go to work. Act like nothing happened. And if I dare call the police, he would shoot me and our daughter." I didn't believe the fight would be over that simple. I feared he would shoot me from behind if I did as I was told. I heard a knock at the door. I ran for my life. I opened the door to police with guns drawn in my face. I ran past them. I couldn't stop running. I wanted out of gun range. Emergency workers yelled for me to stop running. Finally, I stopped and realized I was alive. I never thought they would come for me. I cried as they helped me, and I couldn't stop thanking them. It seemed too good to be true. The police were kind enough to bring me my cell phone to the crime scene so I can contact my work and family. And when it was all done, it took 28 staples to close all the wounds in my head and a few extra stitches on my forehead. I was left with bruises all over my body and a concussion. My room was swarmed with hospital staff, an emergency crew, and child protective services, asking me questions every which way. My head spun. As the chaos calmed, I was questioned by a police department investigator, O'Boyle. I told him I was terrified if my abuser gets out, he will finish me off. He told me he would work hard to fight to keep his bail high. That was the best thing I could have possibly been told. I felt safe and heard. Across the room was an officer. I remember thinking, if he's sitting comfortably, then I'm going to live. Later, this officer would pass my house to check on me, and it really helped me the first few nights. Thank you, Detective O'Boyle, Officer Robinson, and Sergeant Thomas of the Riverside Police Department for providing the extra second of care in such a hard, life-changing situation. I cannot thank you enough for saving me and my daughter and showing me how caring our local officers are. In the following days, it felt like there was no time to rest to heal. I was immediately overwhelmed with court dates and paperwork. I wasn't ready to run when I could hardly walk. My path was not perfect, and the system was not either. But I knew much more was ahead, and I couldn't let negative experiences speak for everyone I was working to help my case. Weekly therapy was more helpful than I could have imagined. I received so much support from my victim's advocate, Patty, who gave her story here with us last year. Court was nerve-wracking and new for me, but she was by my side, ready with answers and tissues. It took 2 long years before he was sentenced. I felt like my life couldn't start until court was complete. My district attorney, Tara, showed so much pride in her work. I knew it would all be okay because of how confident she was and how dedicated she was. I testified against him in court and finally got to stand strong and read him my victim's impact statement because he chose to plead guilty the day before trial. He was given 28 years. For me, justice was served. But I know I will live with what he has done to me for the rest of my life. Our daughter will never have him as part of her life, and that hurts me, but we are so much better off without him. I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that I'm great or over it, but I'm wiser and happy to be back in control of my life. Hope pulled me through it all. Stay positive and believe it gets better, because I am proof it will. I have grown so much and have finally figured out who I am, and I no longer take less than I deserve, which has led me to the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. But I still have my moments or days my post-traumatic stress disorder takes over my mind. I look over my shoulder, I jump in my sleep, and I replay his final words in my mind without my control. And I still hide the hammer in my home. For the longest time, I blamed the gun that my abuser used for almost ending my life. But I finally realized the gun wasn't to blame. My abuser was. The system was, for allowing someone with a history of bipolar disorder and suicide attempts and a previous domestic violence misdemeanor to purchase a gun. I now see things differently and own my own gun because I want to feel safe in my home and be in control of my own life. I can only speak from the perspective of a domestic violence survivor. I have learned from my mistakes, and I hope society will learn as well. There is no way we can eliminate crime completely, so we must do all we can to lessen it. We can start by educating our children and community. Crime has affected us all. We need to support each other and remind ourselves we are not alone in this. There are services to help get out of your abusive relationship and stay safe. Take advantage of them. I wish I had. We deserve to be happy and loved. We deserve to feel safe. I feel this way now thanks to the dedication and support of the Riverside District Attorney's Office, Division of Victim Services, the Family Justice Center, Riverside Police Department, and our court system. When court was finally over, I left and went straight to a tattoo parlor. I decided to get a semicolon tattoo. I later learned that it was part of an entire internet movement project. A semicolon represents where the author of the story could have ended the story with a period. In its place, they had a semicolon to mark where the story could have ended, but instead, it continues. My next chapter started that day, and I encourage all of you to find a place for your own semicolon. Our stories aren't over yet. Take back control of your life, write our own stories the way we want it. Thank you.